Hi everyone, welcome back to DGMC, Diwan-e-Ghalib, Meri Zabaani. To all our returning viewers, we are very happy you could join us again. And to the new viewers, we are delighted you discovered the podcast and decided to tune in for the first time. Now, if you were with me in the previous episode, you know that currently we are going through Ghazal 25 from Diwan-e-Ghalib, Pae-Nazr-e-Karam, Tohfaa hai Sharm-e-Naa-Rasaai ka. Today we are going to pick the second couplet from the Ghazal. As always, I'm going to read the couplet and then we will get into the keywords, concepts and the impression. So this is how it goes. Na ho husn-e-tamasha-dost. Na ho husn-e-tamasha-dost Ruswaa Bewafaai ka. Ba-Mohr-e-Sad-Nazar Saabit hai Daawa Parsaai ka. So let's do a quick approximate translation. First line, Na ho husn-e-tamasha-dost Ruswaa Bewafaai ka. May my friend's spectacle of beauty be not disgraced or dishonored for faithlessness. Second line, Ba-Mohr-e-Sad-Nazar Saabit hai Daawa Parsaai ka. With the seal of 100 glances, the claim of purity is proven. So that is the approximate translation. Let's start picking the key words. So first line, Na ho husn-e-tamasha-dost Ruswaa Bewafaai ka. Husn-e-tamasha-dost. It's a word complex. We will break it down to understand it. So let's start from the last word, dost, friend. Now here, friend is used for the beloved. Love that usage, right? Where the beloved is being referred to as a friend. So a friend who has a husn-e-tamasha, spectacle of beauty. A friend who has a beauty which is a spectacle, a visual extravaganza, if you may. इस पे जिगर मुरादाबादी का ये शेर देखें. हर हकीकत को बा-अंदाज़े तमाशा देखा. हर हकीकत को बा-अंदाज़े तमाशा देखा. खूब देखा तेरे जलवों को मगर क्या देखा. So the approximate translation is, every reality was revealed to me like a visual spectacle, like a visual extravaganza. And though I saw these visual spectacles of your beauty, it almost seems I did not see enough. I saw a lot, but still came back feeling I didn't see enough. वहशत रज़ा अली कलकातवरी का शेर. हाय रे ज़ौक़े तमाशाए जमाल. हाय रे ज़ौक़े तमाशाए जमाल. खुद तमाशा हूँ, तमाशा देखिए. So the approximate translation is, alas, my desire, right? My thirst for the glory of a spectacle. And this is referring to the beloved, right? So this desire that I've had for the spectacle of beauty has ultimately turned into me becoming a spectacle myself. Me becoming a spectacle myself. Moving on to Ruswaa or Ruswaai, which translates to dishonor, disgrace, infamy. राइट. इस पे इब्ने इंशा का ये शेर देखिए. बेदर्द सुन्नी हो तो चल, कहता है क्या अच्छी गज़ल. आशिक तेरा, रुस्वा तेरा, शायर तेरा, इंशा तेरा. So the approximate translation is, O heartless one, come with me if you want to hear a wonderful ghazal, a wonderful poem. Because here is someone who is your lover. Here is someone who has been dishonored, disgraced because of you. Here is someone who does poetry for you. And here is someone who is insha, poet is referring to himself, who belongs to you. So this person who is everything about you will recite a poetry you will enjoy. जिगर मुरादाबादी का ये शेर, इश्क जब तक ना कर चुके रुस्वा, आदमी काम का नहीं होता. So the approximate translation is, unless and until in your lifetime you have been disgraced, you have been shamed in the name of love, you do not become someone worth mentioning, right? You are not someone worth taking notice of. It is this disgrace and dishonor in love that gives you that edge that makes you worthy of being noticed. And then bewafaai, right? So bewafaai is faithlessness, disloyalty. Now इस पे नसीर तुराबी का आप ये शेर देखें, अदावतें थी, तगाफुल था, रंजिशें थी बहुत, बिछड़ने वाले में सब कुछ था, बेवफाई ना थी. So the approximate translation is, there was a lot of hatred and animosity. There was a lot of negligence. There was a lot of grief, ill will towards me. The person who deserted me, the person who left me behind, had all this, but there was one thing he or she didn't have, and that was bewafaai, which is faithlessness. And then last one, फिराक गोरखपुरी का ये शेर, हमसे क्या हो सका मोहब्बत में, हमसे क्या हो सका मोहब्बत में, खैर तुमने तो बेवफाई की. Lovely couplet. The approximate translation is, what could I ever achieve in love? What did I ever accomplish in love? But you, on the other hand, did accomplish something, and that was faithlessness or being unfaithful. Now, moving on to the second line, Ba-Mohr-e-Sad-Nazar Saabit hai Daawa Parsaai ka. So, mohr is a seal, a stamp, right? फैज़ अहमद फैज़ का ये शेर देखिए, ज़बां पे मोहर लगी है तो क्या, कि रख दी है हर एक हल्का ए जंजीर में ज़बां मैंने. So the approximate translation is, so what if my lips have been forced shut? If my lips have been forced shut by a seal, what I have done is that in every lock of chain, right? Not lock, what is that word? In every link, yes, in every link of the chain that captures me, I have put a metaphorical tongue of mine. So every link of my chain that is supposed to capture me, keep me quiet, is like a tongue itself. And my chains are going to speak if you are going to shut my mouth with a seal. कतील शिफाई का ये शेर, बदनाम मेरे कत्ल से तन्हा तू ही ना हो, बदनाम मेरे कत्ल से तन्हा तू ही ना हो, ला अपनी मोहर भी सरे महजर लगाऊं मैं. Beautiful couplet. So the approximate translation is, to ensure, beloved, that you are not the only one who is going to be blamed or disgraced for my killing, hand me over the document of my murder and let me put my seal on top of it, so that tomorrow you can say, hey, I was not the only one party to his killing. He himself agreed, approved his killing. फैज़ अहमद फैज़ का ये एक और शेर, लाओ तो कत्लनामा मेरा मैं भी देख लूँ, लाओ तो कत्लनामा मेरा मैं भी देख लूँ, किस किस की मोहर है सरे महजर लगी हुई. Same vibe, right? So the approximate translation is, bring to me the petition of my murder. Bring to me the document of my murder. Let me have a look. I want to see who all have put their seal of approval on top of the document. रियाज माजीद का ये शेर, जाने किस दहशत का साया उसको मोहरे लब हुआ, जाने किस दहशत का साया उसको मोहरे लब हुआ, डर रहा है वो मुझे खुलकर सदा देते हुए. So the approximate translation is, I do not know what fear has become a seal on her lips. What fear has sealed her lips, because I can see she is hesitating, she is scared while calling out to me. And then the last one from Daag-Dehelvi, जिस खत पे ये लगाई उसी का मिला जवाब, जिस खत पे ये लगाई उसी का मिला जवाब, एक मुहर मेरे पास है दुश्मन के नाम की. A beautiful couplet, just amazing. So the approximate translation is, the only letters she replied to were the ones that had this seal. And this seal is that one single seal I have with myself that has the name of the rival lover on it. So whenever I seal my letter using the rival lover's seal, I get a reply. Otherwise, I don't. So that takes care of mohr or seal or stamp. Let's move on to Parsaai, purity. And of course, we went through Parsaai in the Matla, first couplet in the last episode, in great detail. We are going to go through it again this time. Parsaai पे जिगर मुरादाबादी का ये शेर, ये है मैं कदा, यहाँ रिंद हैं, यहाँ सब का साकी इमाम है, ये हरम नहीं है ए शेख जी, यहाँ पारसाई हराम है. So the approximate translation is, this is a tavern. This is a tavern, this is full of people who love drinking. And here, the cup bearer, right, is God. O wise one, O religious one, O faithful one, this is not your place of worship, and here purity is considered a sin. All this against the background of the fact that in Islam, in the religion of Islam, drinking is a sin. मोहसिन नकवी का ये शेर, चले जो जिक्र फरिश्तों की पारसाई का, तो ज़ेरे बहस मकाम ए बशर भी आता है. So the approximate translation is, whenever the discussion around angels gets initiated, wherever there is a discussion around angels, then somewhere in the argument, somewhere in the deliberation, you will always find a place where humans are discussed. What a beautiful couplet. इसका तो impression करने में मज़ा ही आ जाता, right? I mean, the fact that in that entire discussion around angels, there is a spot where you focus on humans. Okay. And then बहादुर शाह ज़फ़र का ये शेर, कुछ ऐसा हो कि जिससे मंजिल मकसूद को पहुँचूं, तारीके परसाई होवे या हो राहे रिंदाना. So basically the approximate translation is, what I want is something that will help me reach my ultimate destination. Whether it be the customs and the discipline of purity that gets me there, or whether it be the way of drinkers, that means intoxication, that gets me there. As long as it gets me to my ultimate destination, all is good. And we are staying on Parsaai for a long time, because after all it is the key concept of the couplet. Two more couplets on that. फरत एहसास का ये शेर, फिर दावत-ए-गुनाह मिली एक निगाह से, फिर दावते गुनाह मिली एक निगाह से, फिर मेरी परसाई को शर्माना चाहिए. So the approximate translation is, once again, once again, an invitation has been issued in my name by a glance, and by extension by a glance of the beloved. So once again, my purity should be feeling embarrassed. My purity is under threat because the invitation from her eyes makes you want to sin. And then last one, मुंशी अमीरुल्लाह तस्लीम का ये शेर, परसाई उनकी जब याद आएगी, परसाई उनकी जब याद आएगी, मुझसे मेरी आरजू शर्माएगी. Again a beautiful one. The approximate translation is, whenever her purity will come to my mind, whenever her angelic demeanor will come to my mind, my desire for her will feel embarrassed, right? My desire for her, my wanting her will feel embarrassed. Okay, so that takes care of all the key words of Naho Husn-e-Tamasha-Dost Ruswaa Bewafaai ka Ba-Mohr-e-Sad-Nazar Saabit hai Daawa Parsaai ka. Now let's get into the impression. First line, Naho Husn-e-Tamasha-Dost Ruswaa Bewafaai ka. For now, we will park Naho. We will pick it later, just because it will help build the impression better that way. Let's start with Husn-e-Tamasha. Like we explained in the keywords, right? Husn-e-Tamasha-Dost is a friend who is a spectacle of beauty, or a friend whose beauty is a spectacle. And here, of course, we are referring to the beloved. This is indeed the centerpiece of the couplet, right? The whole couplet is around Husn-e-Tamasha. Now, Tamasha translates to spectacle, like we said. And both Tamasha in Urdu or even Hindi and spectacle in English have more than one nuances, have more than one connotations to it. So it is very imperative that we pick the correct connotation to do justice to this couplet. So spectacle, the English word, actually means event that is memorable for its appearance. Spectacle is similar to the French word spectacle, and I am gonna skip all the pronunciations in non-English language just to avoid sounding strange, right? So spectacle, however it is pronounced in French, means a show, a sight, sometimes also means show business. Now, the root of the word spectacle lies in the Latin word spectaculum, which again means a show, a sight. Spectare, which is a Latin word, is also part of the root of this word spectacle, and spectare means to view, to watch. And then the last Latin word, which is closely related to this group, is specere, however it is pronounced, and that also means to look, to see. So as you can see in English, French, Latin, the word spectacle is all about a show, a sight, something to watch, right? But in addition to these original meanings, both spectacle and tamasha has this idiom attached to it, which means to draw attention to yourself by either behaving or dressing in a ridiculous way in public. आपने सुना होगा, don't make a spectacle of yourself, ये क्या तमाशा बन के निकल रहे हो time, right? So that is another usage of this word, and we went into all this to ensure that we clearly demarcate that this idiomatic usage is not what applies to today's couplet. For today's couplet, the tamasha or the spectacle refers to an event that is memorable for the appearance it creates, a show, a sight. Like I said, a visual extravaganza, if you may. Now, Husn-e-Tamasha is a common concept in Urdu poetry, and we will explore it as part of our impression. The controversial blame around spectacle of beloved's beauty, Husn-e-Tamasha, is shared both by the beloved and the lover. Sometimes it is the beloved who bears the heavy weight of blame and accusation for the spectacle of her beauty. Our couplet from today is a very good example of that. But in addition, असरूल हक मजाज का ये शेर देखें, इश्क का ज़ौक़ नज़ारा मुफ्त में बदनाम है. इश्क का ज़ौक़ नज़ारा मुफ्त में बदनाम है. सॉरी हुस्न खुद बेताब है जलवा दिखाने के लिए. So the approximate translation is that ishq, love, by extension the lover, is unfairly blamed for his desire for this spectacle of beauty. The fact of the matter is that the beauty herself is always so keen, so interested in showing off the spectacle of her beauty. The beloved is always so keen. जिगर मुरादाबादी का ये शेर देखें, शिकस्ते हुस्न का जलवा दिखा के लूट लिया. शिकस्ते हुस्न का जलवा दिखा के लूट लिया, निगाह नीची किए सर झुका के लूट लिया. So the approximate translation is, she robbed me. By extension, she robbed me of my senses by showing me the defeated aspect of her beauty. And in that aspect, her eyes were lowered, her head was bowed down, neck was lowered, and in that defeated stance, she went ahead and robbed me of all my senses. So, all this when the beloved is being blamed for the repercussions of the spectacle attached to her beauty. Then, at times, it is the lover who gets blamed for his obsession for the spectacle of with the spectacle of the beloved's beauty. His obsession, interestingly, can take on a different nuance depending whether his beloved is veiled or unveiled. तो सैयद ज़ाहिर अहमद ज़ैदी का ये शेर, हुस्न तमाशा दोस्त छुपे क्यों हिजाब में, 100 जलवे रूनुमा हैं किसी के नकाब में. So the approximate translation is, why should the spectacle of beauty be hidden under a veil, under a naqab? Because after all, hundreds of miracles, hundreds of glorifying manifestations of this beauty are happening under that veil. So that veil should be lifted up so that we can all see the magnificence of these miracles of beauty that are occurring under that veil. So, like I said, sometimes the blame is shouldered by the beloved, sometimes the blame is shouldered by the lover around this spectacle of beauty's beloved. But one fact is undisputed. No one, absolutely no one, escapes the impact of this spectacle. शकीब जलाली का ये शेर, पिलाकर फिर शराबे हुस्न जलवा, मुझे बेखुद बनाया जा रहा है. The approximate translation is, once again, by serving me the wine of the spectacle of beauty and glory, I am being forced to lose my senses. I'm getting drunk. I'm being served the wine of her beauty, and that is making me drunk. So all those couplets must have must have given you a very good sense of this spectacle of beauty, right? From the beloved's perspective, from the lover's perspective, the impact of it, and the rest. Now, let's move on to Ruswa. And like I said, we had parked na ho. Initially, we will bring it in now, and we are going to take care of na ho Ruswa together. So, na ho simply means it should not happen, right? And Ruswa, like we said, is being disgraced, being dishonored. So, na ho Ruswa will become there should be no disgrace, there should be no dishonor. Of whom? Of course, the beloved. Now, the power of Naho. The power of Naho is palpable in the couplet. It displays the deep rooted desire of a lover to ensure disgrace and dishonor of the beloved is avoided at any cost. Often the cost is as high as the lover himself having to sacrifice his yearning and desire to be with the beloved. And if that be the case, the lover will willingly pay that cost. One of our favorite couplets to um, describe this, right? Mir taki mir ka sher. दूर बैठा गुबारे मीर उससे, दूर बैठा गुबारे मीर उससे, इश्क बिन ये अदब नहीं आता. So the approximate translation is that the dust storm of Meer, and Meer, the poet, is referring to himself. And when he calls himself the dust storm, that is referring to the fact that the lover has died, he has turned to dust as everybody is supposed to be, and now that dust has taken the form of a dust storm. So this dust storm of Meer is sitting far away from the beloved. Far away from the beloved, who is of course alive, and watching her. The second line says, Ishq bin ye adab nahi aata. Love does not come without this discipline of staying far away from the beloved. And why is that? Because you do not want to do anything that will be a reason for her disgrace and dishonor. So when the lover was alive, he maintained his distance out of respect for her. And now that the lover is dead, turned into dust, and now is a dust storm, he still maintains that distance, just in case, right? Just in case. Will not take any risk with her honor. हसरत मोहानी का ये शेर, देखना भी तो उन्हें दूर से देखा करना, देखना भी तो उन्हें दूर से देखा करना, शेवाए इश्क नहीं हुस्न को रुस्वा करना. The approximate translation is, if you have to observe her, if you have to see her, do it from a distance. Do it from a distance, because the discipline of loving someone, the practice of loving someone dictates that you should not do anything that will bring her dishonor, that will bring her shame, that will make her infamous. And then last one, वसीम बरेलवी का ये शेर, कितना दुश्वार था दुनिया ये हुनर आना भी, कितना दुश्वार था दुनिया ये हुनर आना भी, तुझसे ही फासला रखना तुझे अपनाना भी. Lovely couplet, probably my favorite from today's episode. So the approximate translation is, how difficult it was, world, and the poet is sharing it with everyone, right? How difficult it was, world, to learn this talent, to learn this discipline, to learn this art, where on one hand I had to maintain my distance from her, and on the other hand I had to own her, I had to make her mine. It was a very difficult path to travel, to do both things, to do justice to both things. So, as you can see, all this in reference to Ruswa. So, for the lover, it is paramount. It is paramount to ensure that he does not do anything that can even slightly become a reason for the beloved's disgrace, for the beloved's shame, right? Now, clearly for the lover, protecting the reputation, protecting the honor of the beloved is very important. It is very critical. In today's couplet, Ghalib captures the interesting predicament or challenge the lover faces while he tries to save the beloved, or by extension, the beloved's honor, from her own beauty spectacle, which is being unfairly used by the onlookers to dishonor and disgrace her. So one responsibility is that as a lover, I should not do anything to jeopardize her honor. The other part of the responsibility is she should not do anything to jeopardize her honor. The protective instinct is all encompassing. Doesn't matter whether it is the lover or the beloved. The fact remains that her honor, her reputation should be protected. In the second line, we will, in true Mushaira style, get to see what is the actual save Ghalib the lover does finally. But since we are still in the first line, let's complete that first. Now, the last portion of the first line is Bewafaai. Na ho Husn-e-Tamasha-Dost Ruswaa Bewafaai ka. For the lover, it is indeed a huge thing if the beloved is unfaithful to him, if the beloved is disloyal to him. The lover can have more than one reactions to the faithlessness of the beloved, for the disloyalty of the beloved. The lover might avoid it completely. अहमद फराज का ये शेर, इससे पहले कि बेवफा हो जाए, क्यों ना ए दोस्त हम जुदा हो जाएं. The approximate translation is, before we become unfaithful to each other, dear friend, would it not be better that we split ways, we go our way, different paths? Sometimes the lover might justify the unfaithfulness of the beloved. हाँ वो नहीं खुदा परस जाओ वो बेवफा सही, जिसको हो दीनो दिल अजीज उसकी गली में जाए क्यों. अपने गालिब का शेर. The approximate translation is, sure, she is a non-believer, sure, she is an infidel, sure, she is unfaithful. Well, if you are so protective about your faith, if you are so protective about your heart, don't go in her street. Stay away from her. I, on the other hand, I have no problem. I don't care about my heart. I don't care about my faith. I am going to go into her street. बशीर बद्र का ये शेर, कुछ तो मजबूरियां रही होंगी, कुछ तो मजबूरियां रही होंगी, यूं कोई बेवफा नहीं होता. Again, the lover justifying the unfaithfulness. So the approximate translation is, I am sure there were some unsurmountable challenges. There were some unavoidable circumstances that forced her to become unfaithful. Otherwise, after all, why would anyone become unfaithful towards someone who loves you so much? Right? Now, many times the lover might accept the unfaithful beloved. जमील मलिक का ये शेर, हमसे कोई ताल्लुक़ खातिर है उसे, हमसे कोई ताल्लुक़ खातिर तो है उसे, वो यार बावफा ना सही बेवफा तो है. The approximate translation is, at least there is some connection between her and me. At least there is some dynamic, some back and forth going between her and me. Sure, she is not faithful. At least there is a dynamic of unfaithfulness that exists between us. And then, of course, the last is not the correct word. Another one, Another reaction that the lover can have towards the unfaithfulness of the beloved is to continue to love her despite it. Right? And इस पे अपने मिर्ज़ा गालिब का फिर से शेर, फिर उसी बेवफा पे मरते हैं, फिर वही जिंदगी हमारी है. Very tempting to do an impression, but we will stay away from that. Just do a quick translation, and the translation is, once again, I am just sacrificing my life on that unfaithful one. Once again, it is my life, and I myself am sacrificing it on someone unfaithful, on a beloved that is unfaithful. So all that kind of covers the unfaithful bewafaai concept in the first line. Now that we have gone through Husn-e-Tamasha, spectacle of the beauty, Ruswaa, disgrace, dishonor, and bewafaai, which is unfaithfulness, let's take a step back and look at the first line in totality. Ghalib here draws our attention to the undisputable fact that there is no escaping the visual extravaganza called the beloved. This is one sight you cannot unsee once you have seen it. Urdu poets have captured beloved's beauty from multiple aspects, and though all these aspects are different, their visual impact on the onlooker is the same, which is intense and unforgettable. In this first line, you see Ghalib very subtly yet impactfully bring together two things. Number one, the much discussed beauty of the beloved. Number two, the much ignored unfairness of blame she gets for the attention her beauty attracts. With his astute observation and unapologetic calling out of wrong and unjust, in the first part of the first line, Ghalib states, yes, the beloved does enjoy indulging in her beauty. Why shouldn't she? Why shouldn't she? Beloved has the same desire, same pride, same right like any other beautiful thing to enjoy and revel in her beauty. In the second part of the first line, Ghalib challenges the popular precedent and trend that allows onlookers to distort beloved's desire to enjoy and celebrate her beauty into an excuse to blame her for unfaithfulness and disloyalty. For Ghalib, a beautiful thing should not have to hide and apologize for its beauty or the impact the beauty has on other people, especially someone as beautiful as the beloved. Is it even possible for something so beautiful to be able to hide or control the radiance that emanates from the visual spectacle her beauty creates? Ghalib, in an unsaid way, states, the unfound, unfair blame on beloved's loyalty is not a reflection on her virtue, but a reflection on the people who make these false claims. So that takes care of the first line. Let's move into the second line. You must have noted that the second couplet resembles the first couplet, and it resembles the first couplet primarily in the Daawa of Parsaai, claim of purity. Ghalib says the very thing instrumental in blaming the beloved of being disloyal is in fact the very thing that is a testament to her purity. That's what he says in this couplet. So let's start the second line with Ba-Mohr. Mohr, as we just covered in the keywords, is a seal or a stamp. Now the word mohr comes from the Persian word mahr, which means seal or signet ring. The evolution of the mohr seal can be traced back to the Indus Valley civilization, which flourished in the second half of the 3rd millennium BC. The first Harappan seal was discovered before 1872 at the ancient city of Harappa in what is now Pakistan. The seal is a smooth black stone with a deep engraving of a bull without a hump, facing right, and two stars under its neck. Above the bull is an inscription in 6 characters. Mohr later evolved to sealing wax that dates back to ancient Rome before the invention of paper. They would use wax to sign clay tablets as a form of authentication. During the Middle Ages, people would use wax seals to sign contracts, agreements, and letters instead of an actual signature. Wax sealing was associated with class and power. Royals, lords, monarchs, and bishops all possessed an official seal. Many would have their stamp made into a signet ring they wore for security. When the official passed away, the ring would either be passed down to an heir or destroyed to avoid identity theft. Here is the Santisimo in Cris, a letter written to Pope Clement VII in 1530. The letter demanded the Catholic Church annul Henry VIII's first marriage to Catherine of Aragon. The letter was signed by 81 noblemen using their wax seals to show their support of the annulment and was consequential in England's break from Catholicism under Henry VIII's reign. Wax seals made it difficult for the document to be opened without breaking the seal. This form of security would confirm that nobody opened the document or letter. The wax seal would also help to verify the sender's identity, with most families putting their initials in the stamp. So, that brief background just to reiterate the importance of a seal. Clearly, the word mohr comes with a seriousness, authenticity, and sincerity to it, which cannot be taken lightly. Ghalib uses the word beautifully in the second line to emphasize the unshakable, undisputable seal of confidence on the beloved. And true to his style, he supercharges this mohr by using Sad-Nazar, 100 glances. So now, it is not just one single seal, but it's hundreds of seals. It's almost as if Ghalib is saying, every envious, every accusatory glance that is sent my beloved's way will be transformed into a seal of authenticity for her loyalty and purity. So, go on, onlookers, send more blame her way, and by doing that, keep ensuring she is proven to be blameless even more. Good save, Ghalib, good save. Moving on to Daawa Parsaai ka. Parsaai simply translated is purity, but it also has multiple layers to it that play out differently for everyone. In the first couplet, the matla, which we covered in the last episode, Ghalib displayed Parsaai or purity with reference to God in context. Holiness, absence of vices, absence of sin. Now in the second couplet, Ghalib will display Parsaai or purity with reference to the lover, with reference to the beloved, right? For the lover, Parsaai is more about abstinence, temperateness, restraint that he has to practice in order to temper his desires for the beloved. For the beloved, Parsaai is more about chastity, purity, virtue, which she has to practice in order to protect her honor and reputation, and also in addition prove her loyalty to the lover. As we discussed in the previous episode, purity is a complex state. It is a complex state. It takes very little to disrupt it, right? One aberration here, one pollutant there, and voila, you can't call the thing pure anymore. Misuse of this exact characteristic of purity is displayed in today's couplet. Beloved's desire to revel and indulge in her beauty is misrepresented as her desire to compromise her purity. In DGMZ's humble opinion, Ghalib has walked a very fine, a very controversial line here with such grace and decorum. Even in today's modern day, we come across unfortunate scenarios that make us pause to think and rethink the affordability of freely expressing beauty without fear of repercussions and allegations. We face it even today. To have Ghalib highlight this 150 years back and more importantly share his stance on the unfairness of it is just mind-blowing. Just mind-blowing. In addition, the honesty of his couplet hits home. On one hand, he realistically, honestly highlights an aspect of the beloved in which she loves to flaunt and revel in the glory of her beauty. On the other hand, he pointedly highlights the unfairness of this aspect being used as an excuse to blame the beloved of impurity and disloyalty. And then his finishing touch is a masterpiece where he transforms those very accusing, envious eyes and glances clinging to the beloved into seals of authenticity on her purity and virtue. Ghalib clearly states that all these onlookers can do is gaze and look at her from a distance. These gazes come and go. What stays constant, what holds its ground is the beloved, who stands unshakable, unchallenged in her beauty, in her loyalty, and in her purity. आलमा इकबाल का ये शेर याद आ रहा है, फरिश्ते पढ़ते हैं जिसको वो नाम है तेरा, फरिश्ते पढ़ते हैं जिसको वो नाम है तेरा, बड़ी जानिब तेरी फैज़ आम है तेरा. So the approximate translation is, your name is the name that the angels read, that the angels read about, right? You have a different type of honor, a different type of majesty. The hugeness, for the lack of a better word, of your majesty and honor is unmatched. And then your grace, your influence is abundant. Talking about the beloved. And then ख्वाजा मीर दर्द का ये शेर, तर दामनी पे शेख हमारी ना जाइयो, तर दामनी पे शेख हमारी ना जाइयो, दामन निचोड़ दे तो फरिश्ते वजू करें. So the approximate translation is, do not be deceived by my wet disposition, by my wet cloth, right? Garment, cloak, robe, right? If I was to wring out my robe, the water that would come out of that wringing is the water angels would happily use for their abolition, for their purity. That is the amount of purity I carry in myself, right? That the angels would not hesitate to use that water for their puring ritual. Ghalib in this couplet takes us through an interesting journey of purity or Parsaai. Also, in the first couplet, he does the same. And now that we have finished both the couplets, we see how Ghalib has highlighted that purity doesn't float on the surface. Purity is not superficial. Purity is not what appears to be. Purity runs deep. Purity exists below the superficial, obvious layer of appearance. Purity might not always be pretty, as in the blooded lover's body. We covered it in the last episode. Purity might not be unchallenged. It might be challenged, it might be disgraced, it might be shamed, like we covered in today's episode with reference to the beloved. But the fact remains that in spite all these circumstances, purity will stand its ground. So that brings us to the end of ना हो हुस्न तमाशा दोस्त रुस्वा बेवफाई का Ba-Mohr-e-Sad-Nazar साबित है दावा पारसाई का. I hope you enjoyed the impression. As always, we'll be very keen to hear from you in the comments. Interact with us. It's always a joy and very motivating. Now, for the new viewers, a humble request. If you have time, go through the episode titled Introduction to DGMC, because that episode will give you a good insight into the motivation and inspiration behind this podcast. Surf the channel page, the homepage of the channel. There are various playlists up there, segregated by topics, segregated by ghazals. Surf through them and pick the ones that interest you. Now, as always, I am going to send a lot of love and light to all you dear viewers, and thanks for watching.